Yes. My question is to Professor Mithat Sancar. I just wanted to ask a question about the hunger strikes and AK Party's stance.
Can you say it in Turkish, please? It will be easier. It will be. We save time. We save time. You know?
Okay. It's not. I will try.
Yeah.
Türkiye'deki açlık greviyle ilgili hükümetin buna duruşuyla ilgili bir sorum olacak. Burada İran açlık grevlerini yaptığında burada Margaret Thatcher hükümeti çok sert bir duruş gösterdi ve tutsaklar eğer intihar etmek istiyorlarsa bırakın etsinler diye duruşları vardı. Ama 10 sene sonra İngiliz hükümetinin classified dokümanları ortaya çıktığında aslında Margaret Thatcher hükümetinin çok böyle çözümsüz bir şekilde, endişeli bir şekilde yaklaşım gösterdiğini ve duruşunun aslında arkasında çok korkular olduğunu açıkça gösteren şeyler çıktı dosyalar.
Thank you very much. This is not question, this is a comment.
No.
Okay.
Do you
Give
think
it to
this
the
is
lady,
also
please.
true for the AK Party, and are they just putting on a stance, or are they scared?
Thank you. Give it to the lady before you.
You want in Turkish or in English?
In Yiddish, if you like.
In Yiddish? You want
Yiddish.
Yiddish? I don't speak. I
Okay.
can.
Okay.
I want.
Okay, would you
Excuse
want,
me.
would you want me to translate that question?
Please don't.
I would like to ask you.
No? Okay.
I would like to ask you.
To ask whom?
Mithat, Professor Mithat.
Okay.
It's in many countries, and including Turkey, many societies either threaten or feel threatened. So, but that works both ways. In order to improve society and in order to be able to improve understanding, in your opinion, what should be done?
Our Arabic guest from Al-Ahwas, please.
Yes, I am Arab from Arabistan in Iran, and I have two questions. One for Mr. Sanjay and one for Mr. Rebwar.
Say it in Arabic to him at least.
Yeah, I want to know about Arab people in Turkey. If they have any political movement, because we are Arab people in Iran, we have a political movement together with Kurds, Azeris and Baluchis and other non-Persian peoples. And the population of Arabs in Turkey, the other question from Mr. Rebwar Fatah. Mr. Rebwar Fatah, I want to know about these things. You say about the Kurdistan, hierarchy and other things. How much of this related to the objective situation in Iraq, and how much related to the mentality of the leaders in Kurdistan? قصدي أوضح لك، يعني أريد أشوف هذه الوضع يعني في كردستان العراق، يعني الفساد أو يعني أنت تقايسه مع العالم الغربي، مع الديمقراطيات الغربية، فهناك ظروف خاصة في إيران. أنا ما أبرر ما يجري في كردستان من معايب هنا، لكن يعني هذه المسألة لازم نشوفها في إطار العراق وفي إطار المنطقة. يعني هل هي نتيجة هذه الظروف أو نتيجة تفكير مثلا الزعماء السياسيين في كردستان العراق؟ وشكرا.
شكرا بكم.
Teşekkürler. Son sorudan başlayayım. Aslında o espriye bir parça bu konuyu da katacaktım ama yani Türkiye'de Araplar meselesini.
I'll start with the final question. The truth is, in the beginning, I was going to add this subject at the beginning to the joke we're having.
Ama çok espriye konu olabilecek durumun çok ötesinde ciddi bence.
However, the situation I think is way greater than being a part of a joke.
Türkiye'deki Arapların toplam nüfusu bilinmiyor tabii.
The total population of the Arabs in Turkey is unknown, obviously.
İki önemli bölgede Araplar yaşıyor. Çok kısa biri
They live in two important regions in Turkey.
Akdeniz bölgesi, Antakya, Adana, Mersin.
Antakya, Adana and Mersin.
Ve büyük bir kısmı Nusayri, yani Arap Alevi.
And a big part in Nusaybin.
Yok bunlar Nusayri. Yani bu bölgedekiler Nusayri.
Most of these are Nusayri
Çok
in these
büyük bir
regions.
kısmı.
A lot of them, a huge amount of them.
Türkiye'nin Suriye politikasından çok büyük tedirginlik duyuyorlar.
And they are very terrified and worried about the policy of Turkey in terms of Syria.
Yani bunu uzun uzun anlatamam, sadece başlık olarak belirtiyorum.
I will not be able to obviously put this in detail, but I'm just putting in headings.
Diğer kısım, benim de dahil olduğum Güneydoğu, Türkiye'nin Güneydoğusundaki Arapların büyük bir kısmı Sünnidir.
And most of those which I am also a part of in the southeast of the Arabs are Sunnis.
Bu Güneydoğu Arapları dediğim Sünni Arapların bugüne kadar siyasi bir hareketi olmadı.
These
Modern
Southeast
Cumhuriyet'te.
Arabs, which I have been identified, have not had a political movement to date in modern republic times.
2000 yılında 2003'te falan bir saha çalışması yapmıştım bir antropolog arkadaşımla.
I did a field work in 2003 with one of my friends.
Evet, orada amaç Türkiye'de dil gruplarının, yani çeşitli halk topluluklarının dil grubu olarak dil haklarına ilişkin taleplerini belirlemekti.
It was to identify, the aim there was to identify the different people in Turkey, identify their linguistic rights, what their demands in terms of linguistic rights.
Bu talebin özellikle Sünni Araplarda çok düşük çıktığını söylemeliyim.
I mean, this demand in terms of Arab Sunnis were very little.
Akdeniz Arapları, yani Akdeniz kuşağındaki Alevi Arapların Türkiye'de 1970'lerden gelen belli bir siyasileşme eğilimi var, hareketleri de oldu. Yani Güney
In the other parts, the Arabs there since the 1970s have had a sort of a way of being politicized since the 70s.
Türkiye'deki sol gruplardan biri münhasıran onlara dayanıyordu diyebilirim, acilciler.
Acil, it's a political group in Turkey, was actually dependent on them at that time.
Onların devamı olan bir grup 1980'lerde bir Süryani Nusayri hareketi olarak bir devam etmeye çalıştı.
A continuation of that group tried to, after the 1980s, continue itself as a Nusayri movement.
Ama çok geniş etkisi olmadı.
However, it did not have a wide effect at time.
Türkiye'deki Nusayrilerin özellikle, yani Alevi Arapların Suriye'deki savaştan bu yana çok ciddi bir politik hareketlenme içinde olduklarını gayet iyi biliyorum.
I very well know that the Nusayrins, the Alevi Arabs in Turkey, are in a very serious political movement since the Syrian issue.
Şimdi diğer açlık grevleriyle ilgili soruya da çok kısa cevap vereyim.
Just in brief, I'll answer the questions in terms of the hunger strikes. What was the question? Okay, the question was that when the hunger strikes happened in... Do you want to say it or...
I just wanted to know if they think that our party government is actually in some form of a uncertainty in terms of how to actually respond and deal
Thank
with
you.
the hunger
That's
strikes.
clear. Yeah, please.
Evet ya Başbakan Erdoğan'ın üslubu Thatcher'ın üslubuna çok fazla benziyor, doğru.
The terminology of Prime Minister Erdogan is very similar to the one of Margaret Thatcher.
Benim de içinde bulunduğum temas ve diyalog grubunun hükümet ve meclisle ve başka yani siyasi çevrelerle görüşmeleri oldu. Benim de katıldığım görüşmeler oldu.
A contact and dialogue group which I'm a part of had various meetings with the parliament and members of the parliament. I was actually one of those in these dialogues.
Benim kişisel bulunduğum görüşmelerden de dışarıya yansıyan açıklamalardan da çok rahat çıkardığım izlenim çok tedirgindirler.
I can very easily say that from my personal views, meetings with them, and from the announcements that have been made, that they are in a very
sorry, the others have to answer.
Yes, they are not quite sure about what's happening.
Yani şimdi süre çok kısaldığı için dışarıda anlatmaya devam edeceğim.
The time is very short, so I'll try and explain it outside as well once the meeting is over.
When you talk about the rule of the law, and you basically briefly mentioned some issue. The one thing is you talk about the judiciary to be independent, but while the judiciary to be independent to execute the law which they're going to execute is going to be the law of the parliament again, is going to be the law of the Kurdish parliament which they're going to execute. How this is going to make the judiciary independent on some extent? If the parliament is going to make the law, if the judiciary is only to interpret that law, is that makes judiciary independent? Another thing is the other ethnic minorities living within area, because we are fighting for the rights of the ethnic minorities on the same sense in other countries. We know within Kurdistan we have other ethnic minorities as well. Even within ethnic minorities we have other ethnic groups such as we've got, as you mentioned, Assyrians, and also we have Kurdistan lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender groups. How these rights could be protected with that constitution or with the parliament? Thank you.
Yes. You, yes. To KRG,
yes,
no?
very quickly. This is to Dr. Rebwar, Fatah.
Yes, that's
you mentioned at the tail end of your discussion that, of course, you want a democratic civil society. Of course, everybody wants a democratic civil society, and you call upon privatization. Now, my question here is, we see in the United States and in this country and in many other countries that privatization doesn't always mean democracy for everyone, because only a few corporations take the money and the people remain hungry. So if you want to have a democratic civil society, is this not a conflict of interest to call in for privatization? And where will those corporations come from? They'll be imperialist American and Anglo-American companies. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was three. I'll try to answer all of them together. Obviously, the presentation is very brief. It doesn't really go to the details, and especially when you are mentioning addressing financial, how to link economic and financial system into democracy and civil society. The model you have seen there is a model I have developed. It is true, it has some elements of the Western democratic culture, but it's not entirely Western democratic culture. I think one of friends asked about the laws that's been legislated by the parliament. It is true that obviously I talked about separation of power, and I also mentioned that the parliament should be one of the powers. It should be the only body that can legislate. No any other bodies in the society should legislate. But the democracy is not really just about election and legislation. Democracy is a very, very complicated system which took many, many years, probably thousands of years, in order to develop. And there are many institutions, not only official and semi-official and like grassroots and civil society, they can all influence the decision and the decision makers. For example, the right of gays and lesbians, there could be, probably the parliament would not legislate that, but the civil society can promote, can fight for that. So it is very difficult to say today this is not happening, why it's not happening. The entire culture which I was mentioning, I hope I deliver the message. The entire culture is changing. As regard to finance, obviously, it's not surprising that any country with oil, like the main resource of oil, cannot be democratic, because you get 5 people in the state controlling the entire nation's resources, and with that power you can do a lot of things. In order to achieve democracy, and I feel very strong about that, you have to break this up. If you are allowing this monopoly of the state is everybody, state is controlling, is the big brother, you're not going to gain democracy. You have to get rid of that, you have to privatize, you have to liberalize, and then create many investors. And I am not overruling foreign investors. I may be labeled as a capitalist, but probably I am a capitalist. Thank you very much.
My name is Ayar Atta. I'm a researcher based at London South Bank University, and my research topic is history of forced migration of the Kurds and the Kurdish diaspora experience in London. My specific question to Hadi Sofizade, I would seek the clarification about the statistics that you mentioned. 10 million illiterate and 4 million addicted in Iran, and also 2 million Kurdish migrant workers inside Iran. I just wonder where these statistics come from. Number 2, I just want to make sure that I understand you correctly. When you say Persian domination, admin, policy, economic, etc., do you mean prior to 1979 or still?
Yes, my question comes from a comment by the BDP speaker at the beginning of this session, when she said that the nation-state does not provide an adequate framework for dealing with these conflicts. So I want to ask whether you agree with that comment. And secondly, how do you see the prospects for some framework other than or beyond the nation-state?
ده مليون نخوێندەوار لە ئێرانە هەیە ئاماری یەک هەفتە پێش ئیستایە.
According to, with regards to the statistics, the 10 million illiterate are the statistics are were announced just a week ago.
و لەوە زیاتر کە ئاماری ڕسمی دەوڵەتە و 4 ملیۆن لەو 10 ملیۆنە لە گروی سنی 7 تا 40 ساڵایە.
These are the statistics published by the government. Within the statistics, 4 millions are the age groups between 7 to 14 years. 40 years, sorry, 40.
سەبارەت بە ئەوەی کە 78 ساڵ زەمان لازمە بۆ ئەوەی بێکاری لە ئێران نەخوێندەواری بنەبڕ ببێت ئەوە.
With regards to resolve the illiterate issue in Iran, it takes 78 years to overcome this issue.
ئەوە قسەی دکتۆر سەعیدی مەدەنیە کە کارناسی ئوموری کۆمەڵایەتی کاروباری کۆمەڵایەتی ئێستا لە سجنایە.
دکتۆر سەعیدی
مەدەنی.
These are this is with regards to that takes 78 years to overcome this issue. That's been elaborated by Dr. Saeed Madani, who's in prison at the moment. He's a social scientist.
هەروەها سەبارەت بەوەی کە بڵێن لە ئێرانە میزانی کار 20 دقیقەیە لە ڕۆژە.
میزانی کار نازانم. I do apologize. I mean, he speaks in sort of different dialects, so I even sometimes find it difficult to.
تحقیقاتی زانکۆی ئۆسلۆیە کە خۆم لەوێ خوێندکار بووم.
These are the statistics published by the Oslo University, who I am currently studying at the university.
Sit down or go out. Excuse me, gentleman there in the corner. Please sit down or go out.
لە نرویج میزانی کار 6 ساعات و 40 دقیقه.
In Norway, the working hours 6 6 hours 40 minutes.
لإيران 20 دقيقة.
In Iran is 20 minutes.
لباشوري كردستان 16 دقيقة.
In northern Kurdistan is southern Kurdistan is 13 minutes.
بله. سوارت به پرسیاری دوهم alternative چیه؟
With regards to the second question, what's the alternative?
بله. لسه بدپا.
هايدي لك سكاني خانمي كشاناق راوري قلت من أمان ستيت درس يونيفرسيتي.
بله. لا تركيا درنگ یازو منطقه کی سیاسی هيا كبشوي رفورم كيشي كرد چاره سر ببين.
Soon or later the issue of the Kurds will overcome in Turkey.
او برياري جوا كوبونوي دوانزي كونغري نتوي كردستان شا.
This is the decision by the
كونغري نتوي كردستان.
Kurdish National Congress.
بەڵام لە ئێرانە منطقی شەڕ هەیە ئەمڕۆ کە ئێرانیەکان زیاتر بیرەکەنەوە کە ئێران بە شێوەی یوگسلاوی چارەسەر ئەبێت.
But with regards to Iran, the Iranian government and the Iranian government will sort of take a different direction by resolving the issue with power or conflict.
ئەنی تەنیا ناکرێت لە ئێران تەنانەت وەکو زیمبابوێش کە لە بینی تابۆ مورگان چانگیرای و بڵێن مورگان چاگیرای و موگابێدا چارەسەریکرا ئێران ئەو حاڵەتەی نییە کە بتوانێت ئەو بۆ ئاستە لە دیالۆگ بگەیت.
The situation in Iran is far worse than Zimbabwe, where the situation cannot be resolved with dialogue, and he just mentioned the Mugabe and Morgan Changiris there.
یەک نمونەیەکە بۆ ئێران لە نەزەرسەنجیەک ڕاپرسیە لە ئێرانە کراوە لە ناو ئازەریەکانە کە بە شێوەی عیلمی نییە و بە شێوەی زۆر مەخفی کراوە. لە ئازەربایجان ڕاپرسیەکی نهێنی کراوە کە 55% خوێندکار و گەنجی ئازەربایجان لەو ڕاپرسیایە خوازیاری سربەخۆیی ئازەربایجان.
And students are in Azerbaijan are wanting the independence for Azerbaijan.
Thank you.